I'll go ahead and record it so we can send it over to you. You
Yeah,
can.
yeah, yeah. It's go ahead and start the recording from now on. And
Thank you.
okay, off we go.
Okay. Do we know if Abril's coming or not, or should we go ahead?
I just texted her, so I'll let you know. But I think, I mean, we could start.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we're just going to go a little bit of a review first, and then we'll dig
Okay.
into it. So why don't we get going here? Today's topic is performance monitoring, and performance monitoring is basically all the tools in the background that we use to manage or to monitor the data at the macro level, being at basically the group level or the plan level. The micro level we talked a lot about yesterday, the individual charts and graphs at the objective and activity level. Then we're going to talk about the reporting, some of the reporting that's in the system. There's a couple of them we won't get into today because they're related to the three-dimensional planning, which we'll talk about in a future training here. And then we'll go into the VMSG Public, the ability to create public-facing web pages. So let's go ahead and get started here. First of all, reviewing the three phases of performance management, developing the operational plans, which we've worked on a lot over the last couple of sessions here. And I think we got a pretty good idea of how the plans will look in the system now. Once we have the plans in the system and we're keeping them up to date, we're doing the performance monitoring. The macro level is basically the dashboard screen, which we'll dig into a little bit more, which would be a summary of performance at the entire plan level. And then we get down to the micro level, which is down at the in the pyramid, the objective and activity level, the performance there, which is what we saw yesterday and talked about a lot. And then VMSG Public is the ability to kind of interactively create public-facing graphical web pages for the status of anything, including the entire plan, all the way down to a single activity. And then the PDCA cycle is why we need the performance monitoring, because we get down to the check phase, which is comparing the plan to the actual, and having the actual is what performance monitoring is all about, being able to look at that. And again, the planning model, we went through that a lot yesterday, so we'll just kind of quickly review it. The organization is the department. The groups in your case would primarily be the integrated plan. Underneath that, the services or initiatives, and then we've kind of remapped them. And I sent you that draft of the plan today with the mappings based on the synonyms in the system here, goals, objectives, and activities in here. So the first thing I want to talk about at the group level is the dashboard. So the dashboard screen, hang on a second. I'm going to use some of the same examples that we've been using just for consistency here. We have a lot of data to support it in here. But the dashboard itself is based on a group and its subgroup. So let's go back to the main screen here. So for instance, today I'm looking at community health. So, for today, I'm going to be the community health director. When I come in and I log in, it takes me to my default group. So you guys decide who you want to have set up as a default to which group. I'm assuming most of you will be defaulting to the integrated plan group. So when I go to that group, the only thing I have to do to get to the dashboard for that group is click on the traffic light up here in the top right corner. When I click on that, it's got to go into the background and it collects up literally thousands of data points. If you can imagine how deep the plans get at the bottom of the pyramid, it's gathering all that data together, and it's going to bring me up kind of a synopsis screen of the performance of community health at this point. When I'm looking at the top left corner here, first thing is this homepage button. If you wanted to be able to log in and go directly to this screen, you can click this homepage button. It'll give you a little dialogue saying, do you want to make this your home screen? And then when you log in, it'll take you directly to the dashboard here. The other two screens that you can do that with are the main menu, where we started out here. And if I click on the main menu, there's a similar button up here at the top left corner. I click on that, sets it to the main menu, or the reports menu. In some cases, we have somebody like an administrative assistant who generates reports for the health director, and that's all they do. So why not just go to the reports menu when they log in? And you can switch those back and forth. So all I can do is select that particular screen, hit the homepage button, and when you log in next time, it'll take you to that particular screen. The button here is showing me what group am I looking at. USA Public Health, Community Health Division in this particular case. Now, when I look at the status of a group, I look at the status of a group and its immediate subgroups. So in this case, community health is a level 2 group. It's going to bring on board the level 3 groups reporting to community health. In this case, it would be WIC and tobacco. The reason we do that is because the people who are running Wick and Tobacco are reporting to the community health director. So we're going to have everything kind of summarized for his area of responsibility here. Over on the left side, we can look at the three different levels in here. So the bottom three pieces of the pyramid here, the activities, the objectives, and the goals. And it's going to show me the number of traffic lights basically in each status. You'll see that we have, the red, the yellow, the green, and the gold. And you'll also notice that I have a little click finger here. I can drill down on anything on this screen. So if I want to get to the data elements behind any of these numbers in here, I can click on it. It'll take me right to those data elements. So for instance, if I want to look at these 5 activities that are part of community health, I can bring it open here. And in this particular screen, I can actually go in and change the status here. I can change any of this information. So I'm able to go in and actually edit the particular activities that are behind that traffic light in there. And I can either click the back arrow here to go back or go back to the traffic light. So I'll go ahead and click the back arrow. It does have to recalculate that screen each time. The primary reason being that it is a multi-user system and you can have lots and lots of people in the background doing work on the same thing that you're looking at here. So it's got to recalculate based on the fact that they might be doing background work in there. So again, this is what the traffic light is giving me. I call this the big picture. It's kind of the overarching look at it in a traffic light color and number format. The schedule gauge here, we talked about that before, I think also. This is, the schedule is calculated, the timeline is calculated by, at the activity level, the beginning date, the ending date, and the percent complete. So the example I use is if it's January 1 through December 31st of 2023, and today is July 1st of 2023, we should be exactly 50% of the way through the timeline or through the year. If the activity is 40% complete, we're 10% behind schedule. If the activity is 60% complete, we're 10% ahead of schedule. So what this number is basically aggregating the 23 activities here. Some of them could be behind schedule, some of them ahead of schedule, but kind of on aggregate, we're 24 days behind schedule. When we get to 60 days behind schedule, it turns red. We get on schedule, it turns green. So it just gives you a good idea of where we are. Down at the bottom, we have the ability to drill down even further. The first view here is our activity leaders. So these are the folks we assigned as the activity leads down at that level here. This column is showing me the last time that person updated their information. So if you're going to be assigning, which I'm assuming you will be assigning a lot of the objectives and activities to the team members out there to keep updated on a regular basis, this is showing you when they last updated it. You notice it's color coded. The color code is green is less than 30 days ago, yellow is 30 to 60 days, and red is over 60 days. So the idea here is if you can keep everything within the last 30 days, you know that you're working with pretty real-time information. There was a column on the far right at the activity level when we're assigning team members to be able to assign an FTE value, a full-time equivalent value. If you wanted to use that for doing budgeting or grant cycles or whatever, and you use that feature in there, you can roll that up here by person. So basically what you're looking at is how loaded is each person. In the ideal world, you want everybody to be about a 1.0 or below, but that's really doesn't seem to happen too much in public health. The lagging number here is the number of activities that are calculated to be behind schedule, same calculation we were talking about up here. The days column is the same as this schedule gauge for the individual person. So it says that Diane is 18 days ahead of schedule and Andrea is 26 days behind schedule. Overdue indicates that I have activities, in this case, 3 activities that are past the ending date. So today is past the ending date of the activities and they're not 100% complete. And then the number of red, yellow, green, and gold for each of those activities. So that's view 1 is my people. View 2 would be my groups. So the groups is going to start out with the selected group that I have. And again, as I mentioned, the first 2 groups underneath it are the sub-level, the one sub-level underneath it. So in this case, we have community health, we have tobacco, and we have WIC as the groups. And then basically the same information over here. My third view, and I'm not sure if this will apply to you guys or not, is priorities. Basically what it is comparing the strategic priorities from your strategic plan against everything else. Now, the strategic plan doesn't necessarily have to be the strategic plan. It could be your integrated plan. So you're comparing that to other things. If you end up having more plans in the system, you can do that. But basically, here would be our strategic priorities from our strategic plan mapped against everything else in the system. Top right corner, my priorities. These are individually selectable objectives that you want to keep an eye on. Most often, they are yellows and reds. Yes.
for the strategic priorities, where is that being pulled from?
We will get into that when we get into three-dimensional planning. That's
Okay,
Yeah, it's actually a part of the categories and subcategories in the three-dimensional planning. But they're
Okay.
actually they're extracted from your strategic plan. These happen to be for our little department strategic plan here.
okay.
Okay. Top right corner again. My priorities. These are objectives that you want to keep an eye on. It's basically a bookmark up here. So if I wanted to look at this and say, okay, I want to take the green one off because I no longer need to watch it because it's green. It's this little flag down here. When it's green, it shows up on your login. When it's gray here, it doesn't show up. So I'll go back to our screen. Now, when I got to these particular objectives, you'll notice they're under the tobacco group, so a subgroup under there. So what this dialogue is asking me is, do you want to stay on the selected subgroup, in this case tobacco, or do you want to go back to community health? Because I selected an activity within the subgroup, it's asking me, do I want to see a dashboard for the subgroup? I'm going to go ahead and say, let's go back to community health. So we'll have the same screen we were looking at. But you'll notice that the objective at the top right is now gone. So we just have the yellow one up there. You can grab any objective off of any plan and put it up there. And again, it's just kind of a bookmark to keep track of. If somebody's in the background working on these and they change the traffic light or put any notes in here, this will all update in real time. So if you're looking at this and you see that that yellow turns to a green, you say, hey, yeah, I go look at it. Don't need to watch it anymore. So I can click off the green flag and away it goes. So that's my dashboard. That's macro level performance monitoring. So if you looked at the entire integrated plan, you would see everything within the integrated plan at whatever level you want to look at, goals, objectives, or activities. Now you can get that same basic functionality on your phone. We call it VMSG Public, or I'm sorry, VMSG Mobile. So what we did basically is built what we call a dynamic app. So you don't have to worry about IT, limiting your ability to download apps and things like that. This is actually an app that's built dynamically in the web browser on your phone. So this is the three screens that total up to the one screen you just saw based on screen real estate. So this is the top left corner, the bottom, top right corner. Functionality is pretty much identical. You can click down on anything on here and look at the particular data behind there. You can take these on and off from here as well. The login is exactly the same. So it's login.vmsgdashboard.com on your phone. The user credentials are exactly the same. It just knows that it's on a phone and it brings up this app versus the main browser app. So again, you can get to that. So that's the macro level. The next thing we're going to talk about is the micro level. And this is what we were working on with yesterday with all the history files and everything behind it. But I do want to show you some additional features on the graphs and charts that you can look at here. So I'm going to go back down to my tobacco group, and we'll use that example again. Tobacco cessation, reduce smoking in high schools. So this is our reduce smoking at Wayne High School objective. To get to the macro or the micro level here is this little chart. So it's going to bring up the history over from the beginning to the end, basically when I started. So this is saying when we started the program, we had no reduction, and we got up here to a 25% reduction. Now, some of the options that you have up here are a from and to date. So right now you can look at the dates down here. And if I just wanted to cut out a section, say I didn't want to look at these two and I cut it out to, I could put the end date at June 11, 2021, and it's going to basically cut the chart horizontally so I just see this. Where that also comes in handy is if you have data for multiple years and you want to look at an individual year at a time, you can do that. The other option you have is if I want to look at this entire chart, I want to say I want to look at it just in increments of days, weeks, months, quarters, or years. So if I wanted to look at it in increments of, let's say, months, it cuts down a couple of the data points in here because what it's looking at is either the last value in that month or the average value in that month. So let's say we're entering data every week and I have 4 data values in a month. Typically on a chart like this where we're expecting continued growth, I want to look at the last value for the month. So at the end of the month, where were we? If I have a chart that's, like, remember we did the 9 training sessions a month where it's kind of going up and down here, I might want to look at the average value for the month. What was the average number of training sessions we did each month? So you can look at the different time frames and you can decide whether you want to see the last value or the average value in there. Over here in the top right corner, the vertical type percent or values, that is based on what you selected at the objective level. Typically it's percent, but there's the option to go in and just map values in there. The other one here is the scale. So you'll notice the scale is 0 to about 27%. It's actually 27.5. Auto says take the highest value and multiply it by 1.1 to give me the scale. I can also look at a 100% scale. And if you look at a 100% scale, it's not nearly as indicative of what we're doing because it kind of, is down here in the trenches a bit. This might be nice if you had something that's, going up and down all the way through. But again, you can use the auto value as well. Let's go back to auto here. So now down at the bottom, for those of you who are designated as either org admins or manager level users, you have this button down here, Save Defaults. So what you can do is if you want somebody to see a specific chart over a specific date range or just an annual value over the course of the last several years or something like that, you set the values that you want up here, and then you hit the Save Defaults button. When you do that, again, only people who are org admins or managers can do that. You're going to save that default chart. So when anybody goes in to look at that chart, they're going to see what you saved. Now, while they're in there, regardless of their user level, they can change these values around, look at the chart different ways, do analysis on it. But when they leave and come back, it's going to go back to the default values that you saved in there. So that's the micro level screen. I think we went over in great detail on the history records yesterday, so we'll kind of skip over that one for today. We talked about being able to change the dates on the history record, and if you happen to put duplicate records in there, if you click on the date and hit the red X down there, you'll delete that history record. And then if you need to, you can go back and add it in, just like we talked about, putting the values the way they were on that date, saving it, go back in and changing the date. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about are reports. But before I go to there, are there any questions on micro and macro level?
Fred, it would be helpful if you or Andrea could send us the list of the user sort of the roles.
Okay.
To make sure that give us the options, and then now that we've seen this, if we could take a look at that and see if we need to change the access or the roles or anything.
Okay, yeah, we could do that. Alternately, for those of you, and Carl, I'm pretty sure you're an org admin, you can go to the main menu and go to users, and then you look down here and you'll see all the permissions for the users. If you click on it, it's going to show you down here, org admin. You can look at that. There's also a report called an org chart report down here that will show you every user and their permissions in the system. But I'll print that off and send it to you, or just PDF it and send it.
That'd be helpful just to make sure that we're in the level.
Yep. Yeah, and you can change that real easily at the user level. Hang on a second here. At the user level, you can go down here and change it. So if I wanted to, so Mara is a normal user, I can go down here and change her to a manager level user, org admin, partner user, whatever I want to do in there. So real easy to do.
Okay.
Okay. So let's go back to here and let's go into reporting. So there's lots and lots of reports in the system. We're going to focus on a couple of them today. A couple of them we're not going to talk about today are the category tag report, categorization report, and the categories report. There's another training that we'll be doing in the future. Once you get your plan in the system and want to be able to look at a cross-reference, we'll go into the three-dimensional planning training, and that's what those reports are about. The most common report is this top one, the operational plan report. So we'll start out with that one. I'm going to go back up to my groups level, and I'll go down and select community health again, or I'll select the tobacco program. So I got the tobacco program selected. Now, one important thing to understand about reports, you can generate a report at the group level. In this case, it would be the entire plan. In your case, it would be the integrated plan at that level. Or you can go down a level to the services initiatives and generate just a report for one of these. So if I were to generate the report at the group level, and one of the things to know is this is a cookie crumb down at the bottom. So I roll my mouse over and basically it shows me where I am. A lot of the screens, look the same. So it's difficult to say, okay, what group, where am I in the system? So I can just go down here and look at it and it says we're in the Tobacco Cessation Initiative. If I have something selected in this particular box down here, then the report is going to be specifically for tobacco cessation. It will not include secondhand smoke and tobacco initiation prevention. If I go back to the group level and then click on my group, it's going to be, this is cleared down here, so the report will be for all 3 of those initiatives. So just kind of a key element in there as you're doing the report. If I want to generate the operational plan report for tobacco, I go up to the reports menu, the blue one up here in the top right, and I'll select operational plan. Now, what this is showing me, you have the ability over time, you might want to archive specific services or initiatives. If you do that, in the bottom right corner, there's a little hide button basically. And what that does is moves it out of the view of everybody who's not an org admin or a manager user. So the normal users won't even see it. It's basically an archive function. But I'm going to go ahead and say, and what it's asking me is, do you want to include those in the report? You will only see this dialog again if you're a higher level user. If you're a normal user, you won't see the dialog because you can't see hidden information. I'm going to go ahead and say no. So it's going to generate the operational plan report for the tobacco program. If you have vision, mission, and values in the system, which we do here, you can see it's going to have those at the top of the report. And then I'm going to scroll down here to the report itself. So it's showing you the group, it's the entire hierarchy of the pyramid. Now, as you'll notice, the one that I sent you today had the, where it said initiative, it was whatever the nomenclature for your goal was in there. Then we moved the objective up to here, and anyhow, we remapped it, and I'll show you where that happens here in a minute. But we're able to move that in the report. So when you're generating a report, you can do it with your nomenclature in here. But for now, we're going to look at the initiatives, tobacco cessation. Our goal down here is to reduce smoking in high schools. Any notes are in blue. That data source we talked about, if you have a link back to a data source that you want to use to update your plan, you can put that in there. It'll show up on the report. Then we have, obviously, the objective. We have the objective lead over here, Steve Hansen. We have the activities, got the traffic light status. We got the activity team indicating the team lead up here, our current status of the activities, all that information in here. Now, there's quite a few options on this report as well. If I had subgroups under tobacco that I wanted to include in this report, I can say show subgroups. And so let's say we had a couple of other tobacco groups that were under tobacco. I could include those, or in this case, exclude them in there. The other thing I can do is every activity has got a beginning and ending date. So what I'm looking at up here is in this date range, it's just a beginning and ending date. What I'm saying is I want to see just activities that are within a specific date range. Now, let's say, for instance, I'm working on a plan and I'm supposed to have done updates or done something last month. So I want to go in and put in November 1 through November 30th. And what it's going to do is just show me the activities that are supposed to have been completed within the month of November. The other thing you can do is say, what am I supposed to be doing in December? I can put in December 1 through December 30th, and it's going to show me, again, just the activities that are supposed to be completed in December. The next thing over here is the documents. So when I click on that, it's going to bring up a little green line under each planning element that has a document attached. So in this case, here's the file name of the document attached to the initiative, the partner list down here, as you can see, for the goal down here. So you can have as many documents attached as you want. They'll comma separate and, roll over and whatever you need to be able to do here. And you can have documents attached at any level. So you can have it like you see up here at the initiative level. You can have them at the group level, all the way down to the activity level. So you can have documents. If you want to see which documents are attached where, you can bring that up. I also had,
Fred,
yes.
Sorry, I don't remember. How did you get the documents attached in there, or where did that come from?
Okay, let me. While we're at it, let me go ahead and show you that here.
Okay.
So tobacco. This is the document management button right here on every screen. If I wanted to attach it, I've got a document attached. As you can see, the one here indicates I have a document attached to tobacco cessation. I click on this, opens my document management screen. To add a document, you just hit the plus. It'll give you a little dialog, say select your document, upload, and then it gives you the ability, it'll give you the file name of the document down here, but it gives you the ability to give you a better description here. You can put any notes about the document, like this is the first draft. You can use the traffic light. Traffic light, you can determine what the traffic lights mean. In the accreditation world, we tell people the traffic lights, yellow is a draft, green is a final document ready for submission, gold means it's been submitted, in this case up into the EFAB system here. The other thing you have down here is this end date, the expiration date of the document. Again, back in the accreditation world, every document has got a life cycle. Your strategic plan's a 5-year life cycle. Your community health improvement plan's a 5-year life cycle. your plans, your documents might have life cycles as well. So put the ending date in here. So when you go look at that document, you look down there and say, this document is still good, or I need to update this document at this point in time. So yeah, add the document in there. If I add the same file name again, it's going to give me a new version up here, and then I can see the different versions with the show all versions button. But that's document management. Any place this is exactly the same screen up here that you're looking at. Does that answer your question?
And that document, add document function is throughout all the tabs?
Yep. Yeah, you'll look up here. If I look at groups here, I got document management down here, services, document management. So yeah, it's at every place. And you're attaching it to that planning element.
Cool.
Okay. Okay, let's go back to our report again then. Our tobacco plan report. Okay, the other thing you'll see is you have a lot of notes. Everything that's in blue are notes. Now, over the course of years, sometimes you can have a lot of notes, pages of notes literally in there. If you wanted to show somebody, here's our plan without all the notes and all the current stuff in there, you can just do this hide button up here. And what that'll do is basically just hide everything that's in blue. So you look down here, all the blue notes have gone away. So it just gives you the ability to have just the concise report itself. When I say rows, that means show me the notes in a row underneath the planning element. The other thing you might want to do is if you got a long plan, you want to say, I just want to see the things that are in red status, for instance. So I can go up here and select here and say, I just want to see the things that are in red status. And what it's going to do is basically filter all of the activities out that are not red. So I go down here, we see just have the one activity. So it allows you to look at the traffic lights and say, I just want to see those particular activities. I'll go back here to all. The other thing you see up here on the top right is the level of the report I want to look at. So I can look at just the services level here. And what that's going to show me is just a report that has just the services or initiatives up here at the top. I can say I want to look at the services and the goals. So it's going to give me exactly that, the services and the goals, as you can see. And then all the relevant data around the goals down here. Then I can go to the objectives and the activities as well. So I determine what level I want to see at the report up here. So that is the operational plan report. This is the one that you'll use 90% of the time. There's a couple other cool reports in there that we'll talk about that are used, for specific functions in here. So let's talk about those. The next one I want to talk about is the team lead report, second most used report. Team lead report is, remember, we had assigned objective and activity leads to every objective and activity in the system. And I can go in and say, I want to look at just the activities that are assigned to, in this case, Steve Hansen. If I say all, it gives me the ability to look at everybody. This is everybody in our department here. So I can say, I want to see just the objectives that are assigned to Steve. Over here, I have the choice of individual, meaning the person I've selected. Group means if I have a group drop down selected here, so everybody dedicated to the integrated plan, then I would see a list of activities or objectives for everybody who's in that group, the plan group. If I say all, that says everybody in the organization, which could be a very long report, so give it time. It may take it a while to generate that report. If I'm selecting objectives over here, this group doesn't matter here. This is for the activities here. So the objectives will give me the ability, if I want to look at an editable screen of the objectives. So over time, people are going to change out. You're going to want to move people around. This gives you the ability to do that. And what it does is basically just generate a screen of all of the objectives that in this case, Steve Hansen is assigned to. So let's say you've got 5 or something of these and Steve is retiring from the organization. You're going to replace him with something else. You can just scroll on down through here, change Steve out to John or whoever it's going to be in there, save it, and you've updated the information in there. So it gives you the ability to look at it that way. If I go down to the activity level down here, so if I wanted to look at all the activities Steve is assigned to, I can say I want to see whether Steve is just the team lead, not where he's a team member, or just a team member and not the team lead, or either. And when I say either, that means he's either a team member or a team lead looking at the activities level here. So the other option I have is, this is the drill down, the magnifying glass. The other one is generating a report. So let's say that, again, I'm the community health director. Steve works for me. I'm going to have a monthly one-on-one with Steve. So what I can do is bring up a report of everything that Steve is working on, including all the status. And that would be this report here. I forgot to select the group again here. So I'm selecting individual activities where Steve is the team lead and generate the report. So the report is going to be exactly that. It's going to be the complete status of everything, but just the stuff that Steve is the team lead on here. So what I might want to do is, generate a copy of the report for Steve and generate a copy for me. And we sit down across the table and just kind of walk through things and say, are there other things you're doing in here that aren't reflected in the report? Or is the status okay on all these things? Everything's in there. And I think we have a lot of demo data in here, so let me take a few minutes here, a few seconds to generate the report. Or maybe longer. There we go. Yeah, it's got a lot of stuff in here. So you'll notice down here, all the activities have Steve as the team lead in here. So again, this is just kind of a nice tool to be able to go and do the one-on-ones with Steve and that sort of thing. Also, again, gives you the opportunity to go in to change out. I can generate this report. I can go in and say, okay, I'm going to mark these off maybe on a piece of paper and give them to my assistant to go in and change the team leads on these or whatever you want to do with it. So pretty handy report. The next thing we're going to look at are the external partners. 2 reports for that. One of them is the partners report, which is just basically a list of the partners. And when you're doing this report, these are the 4 partners that we have in our demo organization. I've got some options over here. Do I want to look at the information, let's say, just for VMSD dashboard? I'll say no. I want to look at all the partners in here. Do I want to print the contacts? So every organization might have contacts within their people in there. I'll say yes. And do I want to have the details? Details are email addresses, phone numbers, that sort of thing. I'll go ahead and generate that report. So basically, it's just a list of the partners. Again, over time, you're going to get a lot of partners involved in there. It's nice to go in and say, oh, these folks are still there. Joe's car seat is no longer working with us, whatever it happens to be in there. So it's kind of nice to have. The other one that is nice, and it's kind of along the same line as working with your team lead report, and that is your partner activities report. So what we're going to say in here is that I have the choice of generating either a report or a editable screen. And on the left side would be I've selected the partner organization. So anything I'm doing with anybody in VMSD dashboard is going to show up. Or on the right side, I can say just the people that are, or the activities that are associated with just Fred Erickson at VMSD dashboard. And basically, it's going to be the same kind of screen we saw before. In this case, it's going to be the ones that are Fred Erickson attached to particular activities in here. And here we go. So these are the activities that Fred is attached to as an external partner here. And again, where you might want to do is, that partner's no longer working with us, or you're going to change the contact because they left the organization, whatever it is. It just lets you go down here, and down here at the bottom, you can, open up the partners tab and be able to actually change the partner in there. So that is my partner activity database. Again, same thing. You can generate the report version of this to have a one-on-one meeting with your partners if you do that on a quarterly basis or whatever. Now, once we have a report generated, let's go back to our operational plan report, talk about some of the different options to get it out of there. So all the reports, to be able to print them, you get a couple different options, by the way. If I want to be able to just print the report here, this button down at the bottom. So when I open it up, you'll notice the default file name is vmsgreport.htm. HTM is an HTML file. It's a web file. This report in itself, as you generate it, is actually a web page. You can take that file, put it up on your web server. It's a web page that would have this exact report look exactly like this in there. The other thing you can do is I'm going to go ahead and save it to my desktop for now, just so we can play with it. And I'll just leave the report. You can change this to whatever you want in there. Save it. So now I've saved the HTML file. Let's go ahead and open it up here. So this is the report. If I want to print this report, I'm just going to use the browser print functions. Up here, I'm going to go down to print. Then I'm going to select the printer, or I'm going to select print to PDF or whatever I want to be able to do with it up there. So normal printing. Typically, you're going to print this in a landscape mode because it's a pretty wide report. Typically, it'll shrink down, but it won't look as good if you print it in portrait mode in here. The other thing a lot of people like to do is to take this report and put it into a Word document. So what I can do here is I can click anywhere in a report and hit Control A, which is select all, and then I can hit Control C to copy it. What I'll do is typically open up a Word document, put it in landscape mode, narrow margins, half-inch margins, and then just Control V to paste it into the Word document. It'll format, and that's the reason we chose HTML, because it's a very highly structured, highly formatted language. So it'll format and look exactly like this. So then when you've got it in a Word document, you can go and do highlighting and maybe remove some of the stuff that you don't want to have in there, whatever you want to do with it. So it gives you the option, a lot of different options to do that. So putting it into an HTML report is nice. Oops. So that is all the reporting I want to talk about. Like I said, when we go into the three-dimensional planning training, we'll get into these three reports: category tag, categorization, and the categories report itself. But basically, that is reporting. Are there any questions on reporting? Once you go in there and hands-on play with it, you'll find out it's really pretty simple, and there's a lot of flexibility that you can do in there. I'm going to go back to the Miami-Dade org here, and I put in that part of the integrated plan today, so I can use that as an example for VMSG Public. So under the groups, you see the integrated plan put in there. We can generate the report first for that plan. And I just took pieces of it and put in there out of the documents that you guys sent over. And looked down the activity level up here. So this is the portion of the plan we talked about, and it's structured exactly like we talked about yesterday. With the and these are the synonyms that I changed. So up where it was typically services or initiatives, it's now the NHAS goal. Down there where we had goals, it's now objectives. Down where we had objectives, it's activities, and then where the activities are now called the measurements. So it kind of maps, at least in the report, it maps to the same plan that you guys had in there. So this is the report. Now, what I'm going to show you now is what we call VMSG Public, and that is the ability to generate a web page based on the status. So this is the VMSG Public button. It's on pretty much every level. I'm looking at the group level now, so I'm going to look at the entire integrated plan, at least the part that we put in there. So what I'm going to do is click this button, and it's going to say, do you want to summarize the objective, goal, or activity level? What we're looking at is the traffic lights. So I'm going to say the objective level for now. Click on that. It's going to show me what we call an indicator row. So this is the indicator row, and I went in and changed the traffic lights just so we had something to look at here. So this is the integrated HIV prevention and care plan, the activity summary, and my rollover says we got 3 complete. We have 1 yellow and 7 green activities, and just based on the dates we put in there, it says we're 377 days behind schedule. You can see that as we get up there on schedule, it'll pick up. So I'm going to go ahead and say, yeah, I want to make this the top level row in my web page here. So I'll save on that. It's saved that. So I'm going to now go back and generate a row for each of the initiatives under there. So prevent new HIV infections. I'll click on this guy again. I'm going to summarize this at the objective level as well. I think it's got more data in there. So yeah, here we go again. So we've got the rollovers here. We're 579 days behind schedule. I'll go ahead and save that. So you notice up here the little checkbox. This is determining what appears on the web page. I can change the order by changing the sort value over here. So I got 10 and 20. If I wanted to change those around, I could do exactly that. But we leave 10 in between just to allow you to move things around in there. So okay, now let's go ahead and get the other row in there, the second service in here. So I'll go ahead and click on that again. This time I'm going to summarize at the activity level. I think it's got a little bit more detail in it. Yeah, so there we go. So we have the 1 and 1 in here, and we're 26 days ahead of schedule. Go ahead and save that. So now I have the 3 indicator rows that we want to put onto the web page. So now what I'm going to do is export this to the web page, which is this button down here in the bottom right. Click on that, and that's what our web page is going to look like. So it starts out at the top with the entire plan, and then the first goal underneath there, the second goal underneath there. I can go down to the objectives, the activities, all the way down to the bottom. at the objective and activity level, I can make basically a miniature of the chart. So I go to the chart page, and there's the VMSG public button down there, and I can create the little line chart down at the objective and activity level. So however much you want to put on here. In this case, what we're looking is just, how are we performing on each portion of the plan? So I'm going to say, yeah, this is the web page I want. I'm going to go ahead and save it. It's going to give me the option to name it down here. So I'm just going to say, Miami Dade demo. We'll save that. Now, in order to get the actual web page, this is the link. So I just click on that and I copy it, Control C. Now I'm going to open up a new browser tab here, Control V, enter, and there's our web page. So this is the link. Now you'll notice that it's actually stored up on our web server, so it's always available. A couple things you can do. You can grab this link and put it into an email, send it out to the board or whoever you're kind of reporting up to and saying, here's the current status of our plan. You can take this and give it to your IT folks and say, hey, can you put this on our public-facing web page so that our clients can see the current status of the plan? So it's all available to be able to do that up there. So that is VMSG Public. Now, you'll notice over here we can get quite a bit of text, and it can be a little bit confusing. You can edit that, and the way you edit that is going back to the main menu, and down at the bottom we have the indicator rows. So each of those is called an indicator row, and then we have the web pages. Let's go to the indicator rows. It brings up the same one we looked at here. If I wanted to go in and change that, you'll notice it's got a bunch of crazy code in here. This is HTML code. The reason we put that in there is so that you can actually format it to look like anything you want. If you're familiar with HTML, you'll recognize these tags in here. If not, just Google HTML tags and it'll show you everything you can do. But you can do all kinds of cool stuff. You can put graphic images in there. You can put links in there. So what we've had some people do is put a link back to that report that we talked about. So I'm looking at the summary on the web page, and I can put a link in there and put that report, that HTML file that I showed you in there, put that as the report so people can now drill down to get the data if they're not satisfied with what they're seeing at the level there. Let's go talk about some of these tags that are in here. We use basically 4 of them. So the first one is font. So every HTML tag has a less than sign, basically an open bracket here. Font, faces, area, pick whatever font you want to use in there. Size goes from, I think, 1 to 7. You can also put, there's actually a character set for font. So it's a pound sign and then 6 characters, and it defines exactly the size you want. By the way, you can go into Microsoft Word and look at the coloring as you're coloring fonts or something like that, and it'll give you those codes if you want to find them. Color navy, this can be pretty much anything, dark blue, dark red, maroon, whatever you want. Or again, you can use the 6-digit code to do that. This is the text that we're working on. It's between the brackets, and then I use a slash font as my close bracket, and the text will look like that. So that's kind of the main one. The other thing you can do is put bold in there, which we use a lot. So I've got a bracket B and then a bracket slash B, and then everything in between is bolded. The next thing is italics. Same thing, bracket I, bracket slash I, and then line breaks. This is basically a carriage return. There's no close bracket on this one. It's just a BR. So you can customize that text on the left. Again, if you're familiar with HTML, you can do anything HTML related in that left side. It'll all stay in that left side of the chart there. But again, you put links in there, put graphics in there, whatever you want to be able to do.
Fred, will it hold a default, or do you have to change it each time?
You have to change it each time. It's built. The defaults are built into the app.
Okay, so it probably won't be worth it. And then on that web page, the HTML page that like we would have linked to our site, is it possible? Yeah, that one, like maybe like in the top left corner, I see you have the Miami-Dade logo. Could we have the partnership logo also there?
You can have one logo up here, and the logo is in the top right corner. You can have one logo. We can set that for any logo that you want.
Oh, okay, that's fine then.
Yeah. Now down in here, you could put other logos. So if you had at the top of the plan, you could put the partnership logo down in here. Again, you can do anything on this left side is that thing I was telling you with all the different HTML tags. You can do anything you want with it in there.
Okay. that's fine.
Okay. So that was pretty much what we wanted to cover today. Are there any questions on any of the stuff we went through? I know it's a lot of information. So as you're getting in there and going through, I think if you take the example of the plan that I put in, it's in your site already. Everybody has access to it. Start using that as the example if that's what you end up doing. It seemed to fit really well into the system. What you're going to want to do is obviously finish entering the information in there. Then you're going to go in and assign the objective and activity leads, get the proper dates in there, and the plan should be ready to go. Then you can go through and use all the stuff we talked about today with the performance tools, the charting, the VMSD public, and the whole 9 yards.
And when we get totally swamped, we can call for help, right?
Absolutely. I'm serious. If you get into anything and it doesn't make sense, just pick up the phone and call me, email me, text me. We can pop open a GoToMeeting and walk through it.
Yeah, thank you, Fred. For the one question that I have is, so the way that the prevention goal went in, that's great, because that is goal 1.
Uh-huh.
I guess my question is, when we go in and start putting in our goals, all right, so we just want to make sure that we put them in there in order.
Well, you can change the order here. This is the number right here. So if you put them in and it goes to the wrong one, you can just go in and change the number right here and save it.
Okay, and is that true on the other level too?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. You'll see down here, like the goals, here's the number down here. You can change that.
Okay, super. All right, yeah, that's great then.
Yeah, that happens a lot of times where you're adding something and it goes down to the bottom, but it's really the first one, so you just move them around.
Okay, thank you.
And I think it did match up pretty well the way I put it in there. It matched up with the nomenclature in the head.
It looks like that now. I just know that like there's some that we are still working on. So like in order to put the ones in that are done, I didn't want to have to wait and like put them in all sequentially.
No, you can put them in as they come, and then you can renumber them and reorder them as you need to.
Okay, super.
And again, if you have any questions or any problems with that, just get hold of me. I'll take care of it.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, well, I will let you guys get off. I know it's closer to your weekend than it is for me here, but you guys go ahead and have a great weekend. And if you need anything, please feel free to reach out.
Thank you, Fred. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Thank you, Fred.